you're looking at blues bass, and while Oh Brother Without more like bluegrass, so it
Right.
is, the Oh Brother Without is still a solid movie, but it's also a reimagining of the Odyssey,
Yes.
so
Which the Odyssey was
which
based completely in bluegrass, so it makes sense.
hello and welcome to another Dead Pixel. We're a podcast about video games, anime, entertainment, life, a little bit of everything in between. I'm your host, as always, Joe, and with me, the gentleman who always makes sure to do a hand check before every recording, Nick. How you doing, Nick?
Doing good. Doing good. Yeah, we hand check is a term I haven't thought about in a while.
Not since COVID, or not since the pandemic started and you started working from home.
Yeah, I remember we can't go more than one episode without talking about Giant Bomb. I remember I think it was Jan on Giant Bomb talking about getting kicked out of a out of an anime convention for a failed hand check. Not that he failed the hand check, but somebody in the room failed hand check. Um, and then, though, so I think the story goes that they were so. If you don't know, at anime conventions and other conventions, I imagine there are viewing rooms, and at this, and sometimes they will play. I think in this case it was a hentai, but they'll play anime that may or may not have heightened levels of adult content. And if there's any question about what is going on in the crowd, they will turn on the lights or something and then do like hand check, and everyone's like to raise their hands. Um, and Jan, I think it was Jan. It might have been Ben, but I think it was Jan. Was like, yeah, we were all watching, and then they did a hand check, and somebody failed, and everyone had to get out. Um, yeah. So on this podcast we don't have to do that very often. So thankfully, it's a group effort, and we just do pretty well in that. Anyway, how are you doing, Joe?
Doing all right. Yeah, just oh man, all right. Just still receiving a bunch of packages from the Amazon stuff still. I
From
ended up
your Prime Day forays?
yeah, I bought a lot of things that were like kind of necessary. And I'm like, oh, if I'm gonna buy it in the near future anyway, so I might as well just dump my money now.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, I ended up upgrading, fixing up an old PlayStation PS4 Gold headset that I had.
Okay.
The ear pads and even the top pad was coming undone. So I ended up just buying new for $30, whole new ear pads and head, the head top band, uh, and then it's good as new now. So my buddy did the same thing, had the same problem, and they were like, "No, I just decided to buy a whole new headset." I'm like, "Yeah, that's another $100 and something that I just didn't feel like spending." So I just went the cheaper route, and because it still works. And instead, I used that extra money to buy stuff like the Raspberry Pi I mentioned last week that I'm still haven't gotten around to doing,
Mm.
or
Give that another year or two, and you'll get
yeah,
it
right.
put in. Yeah.
Well, like I said, my kids are still fighting on the regular on the Street Fighter cabinet. So I'm like, I gotta up this thing, and I gotta give them something cooperative to play, some Final Fight or something, some Double Dragon or some sort of brawler, uh, you know.
Yeah, usually kids don't
Well,
need any incentive to create animosity between siblings. So, yeah, I don't know if you need Street Fighter, but maybe it's a way to get it out. Maybe you can just settle all arguments with Street Fighter going forward.
my son has since gone from M Bison to Fei Long as his favorite, but only because when Fei Long wins, he'll whip out the nunchucks because he's the Bruce Lee archetype, and he's just like, oh, like he's like, I can't use that. Like, why? Where's the weapon? And I'm like, that's only for the ending, buddy. He doesn't actually use that in the fight,
I mean, I feel like your son is calling out some bullshit. I think he is. It's like hey, I mean, maybe it's a trick to be able to use it, but he probably, I mean, if you're going to tease the nunchucks, I need to be able to use the nunchucks in game. I don't
I
know.
remember making that same concept when I was like 7 or 8, whenever the game came out, and
Yeah.
like, or my friend got it for the Super Nintendo. And my daughter will just straight up look at me as she's playing, and she'll just as she's just button mashing, and she'll still win. And it's just like against other people, like, what the hell? Child, like, look at the screen, just turn your head. She's like just looking up, smiling, having a good time. I'm like, all right. She does better when she's not paying attention than she does. So it's kind of funny that way. Like
Sometimes
that,
life is
my
like
ticket
that.
to Evo right there.
Mm.
So I'll have to race both of my kids up, and then I can take 2 different brackets. Yeah, double my
And
chances.
well, you better start putting the money in the psychology or the psychiatrist jar if that's your goal, because they're gonna need that right after they finish with Evo.
Only I was gonna say, only when they come home with the prize, then they can afford the the treatments.
We won all this money, but we had to
Until
spend it in psychiatry.
they'll have to work their way through their problems just like the rest of us, one fight at a time. All right.
They can make money
Anyways,
off the documentary. I mean, it's
yeah,
perfect.
right.
It's perfect.
Oh yeah, I guess I should start vlogging them now, and then you know
God.
we have a video archive of where we went wrong. Maybe it was the start.
We do. We have this. Like I said before, this podcast is admissible in court. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
Well, no, man. Outside of that, we're doing good here. So, yeah. This week I have not had a whole lot of chance to do a lot of playing of stuff. So unfortunately, nothing new on my plate. How about yourself?
I mean, I've played a couple things. I did tap into Hitman VR and played a little bit of that. Not very far though. Um, and it is cool, but it is definitely a lot harder than like regular Hitman. Um, so I need to jump in there again and kind of see how it really works. But like it seems like it seems pretty cool. Like it seems very much like a good adaptation. There was one thing that I did. So I went into the cook's room in this one place, the kitchen, but there was a cook in there, and I was not planning to do anything to him at that moment, but I picked up an item and it immediately threw it at him. I don't know what I clicked incorrectly, but it immediately like threw it at him, and he was like, "Hey, I saw that," and I had to go just choke him out, like immediately. And then I had some trouble changing into his uniform, because I drug him into a box immediately. So there's some things where I'm like, I don't know if it's me or if it's the game. I need to figure it out more. But yeah, it's definitely like in that game. I'm pretty careful, but not too careful normally. And when I was playing VR, I felt like I was having to be too careful, probably just because I'm not used to it yet. But I was just like, yeah, I don't really know. Like you have a more narrow field of view because you're first person. But yeah, that and just playing more of Death Stranding a little bit here and there. That's kind of started to slow down a little more too. But I'll probably talk about Hitman later or something else later. But yeah, not too much playing, but yeah, but I have been able to watch quite a few things, so that's good.
All right. So why don't we jump to that then? What have you been watching?
Well, I watched a little movie called Sinners. So this is a movie with a mostly black cast, and led by Michael B. Jordan and by Michael B. Jordan. So he plays twins in this movie. And he does.
Spoilers.
Sorry, I think it might be. I think it might be in the trailer that you could see that he plays twins in this movie, and he does a terrific job. Him and everybody else in this movie is fantastic. Um, you've probably either already seen this movie or heard that it was good, and I can confirm that this movie is very very good. It is I'll say that it is a scary-ish movie, and I won't say anything more than that just yet. I will get into some spoilery stuff, but it's a bit of a spooky movie. And I will also say that it is, while it's not a musical, it is a music forward kind of movie. Um, there are a lot of things about this movie that made me think of "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?" While "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou" has more music, uh, there's definitely some things in here that like this movie also has a lot of music, and a lot of music from that same time period as well. Um, so I think that's probably the most I can say without getting into like kind of minor spoilery territory. So that'll
Yeah.
start here.
This is done by. This is also directed by Ryan Coogler, I think his name is. He's the same director as Black Panther and
Oh,
Creed, the Creed series. So which obviously then correlates to like Michael B. Jordan like being like one to one, being like a lot of directors, a
being
lot of decent
tapped to be
solid
in this
directors
movie.
will have they'll have their favorites that they'll have in a lot of movies, and so there's this connection here that you can totally see. And yeah, so all right, so I guess here's the spoiler tag. So speak your will, I guess.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go too hard on the spoilers, but um, some people don't realize that this movie is about vampires. That it is a vampire movie. Um, I will say that it takes its good sweet time to get to the hardcore vampire part. It it builds slowly, properly. It builds properly, but it does build slowly to set up that situation. Um, so basically, a little bit of a bit of the plot opening is you have two young men played by Michael B. Jordan who have come down to Mississippi, where they are from, but they're coming back home from living in Chicago for a while, and it's pretty quickly, if not immediately, revealed that some they were into some devious business in Chicago. The name um, I can't think of his first name. Uh, uh, famous gangster Capone. What's his first name?
Al.
Al Capone. Yeah. Al Capone comes up. Stuff like that. So they're kind of gangsters, and but they
Because this is 1932. This is post World War One. Like that's the concept is they're supposed to be World War One veterans. And it's Smoke and Stackmore.
Smoke and
So
Stack. Yeah. That's what they call them. Yeah. So that is a time period is 1932, the 30s, um, in Mississippi, and they've come down and they are looking to make some money, and basically their idea is is they have supplies for a party, a pretty big party that they're gonna throw, and they're gonna make money off of the stuff they're going to sell at the party, the booze and then the music and stuff like that. Um, and so that is basically the setup. So they're trying to get that going, and they're trying to get some local musicians and stuff like that. And that's where some of the music that this movie puts forward comes into play. And yeah, so as they try to do that, that's they basically spend the day setting that up, and as it gets closer to evening, the party kind of begins, and then other stuff starts to happen as well. And the events of the evening are the highlight of the film. But yeah, it's really well done overall. The acting is all really good. The music, as I said, is all absolutely fantastic. I've been listening to the soundtrack quite a bit since watching this movie. Um, it pulls from kind of it pulls from that like old timey type of music. Um, whereas like Oh Brother Where Art Thou was, you know, Oh Brother Where Art Thou was very focused on, um, I guess the white side of that era of music. This movie draws from both black and white sides of the music industry in that era, um, and it does a really good job of it. I mean, the songs on this are just really fantastic. Um,
Well, I mean, this is a lot of, you're looking at blues bass, and while Oh Brother Without was more like bluegrass, so it
right.
is, the Oh Brother Without is still a solid movie, but it's also a reimagining of the Odyssey,
Yes,
so
which the Odyssey was
which
based completely in bluegrass, so it makes sense. It makes sense. Um,
yeah, as foretold by the stars, right? Yeah. But anyways, no, it's yeah, like I said, Sinners, the sound, like the soundtrack is heavily inspired by blues, and so if you're a fan of that, then this is really solid, right up the alley. Highly recommended.
yeah,
I'm actually the what interests me more is how they ended up filming this, because there's quite a few different cuts or versions of this,
right.
and so because they did a lot of actual film cameras opposed to digital, like which is really popular now. They did a special IMAX 70 millimeter print, so that's pretty incredible there. Um, it's technically it's not your standard 70 millimeter because and there's a whole little mini documentary done by the director just explaining like there four, I think five different cuts of the film, and kind of where you could see it. And I actually, when it first came out, or I ended up trying to look to see where some of these special screenings were, but there was nothing by me,
Mm,
surprisingly.
hmm.
It's just like,
Yeah,
because
you live
I
in
would
an
have made
area.
the effort. But yeah, it's no, the soundtrack. I was recommended by a friend over my birthday. Like we went to a blues joint, and they're like, "Yeah, totally recommend if you haven't seen it." And that's why it originally caught my interest because I didn't even know the movie. Like I'm very much in the dark of modern movies coming out nowadays.
Me too. Yeah.
Usually, it's just I just don't get to see them anymore.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
I can't bring
there's
the kids. I
the
can't bring the kids to an adult movie, and I'm not spending a lot of money just for a babysitter while try to go watch them.
I mean, there's that, but like, there's so many. It's just watered down. There's so many that are so bad, um, that it's not worth keeping up with them. It's not worth being like. It's not worth keeping up with like, oh, what's coming out? Oh, that one looks kind of good. That one looks really good. That one looks kind of mad. That one looks kind of good. It's just like there's like 100 movies coming out every month, and 99 of them are awful, and then one is really good, and then so you're like, well, I'm not going to sift through the all 100. I'm just going to wait for someone to tell me, oh, this one was good. Some YouTube influencer who makes money to sift through this stuff. Anyway, rant over. Go ahead.
No, that's really it, man. So all right, I'm glad you really liked it. And Yeah, so I'm just going to transition over to what I've been watching. There's a movie that you recommended. Um,
Did I?
or
Did
at
I?
least recommended the first part. You recommended the first part. You said you really need to watch the beginning of this. Like the rest of it, you can probably skip. But you wanted my take on the beginning of this film, and that was an older movie called Baby Driver. Uh, this I remember when this came out because I had no clue. I was just like, I had just came back from overseas,
Hold on.
and
Hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. Are you sure that I said Baby
one
Driver? Or did I
100%.
say driver or drive?
No, no, because that's the one with what's his face,
Josh or Ryan
Ryan
Gosling?
Gosling.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Because no, I specifically remember you mentioning the beginning of this one because I'm like, huh, all right, because that's
Because
the one first.
because I don't remember Baby Driver's early part being really special anyway, but I do remember Drive having a very special pre title, drop scene. So, but if you're sure, then okay, maybe this I yeah, okay, but please.
This came up because this the reason why this came up, and I'm pretty certain about this is because uh you and I actually like the director, um, being what's her name, Edgar Wright.
Okay.
Edgar Wright being, from, so Hot Fuzz, the Cornetto trilogy, essentially.
Right,
Uh,
right.
and I had just, and the most recent reason was not that long ago, I had watched their latest, or one of the most recent films, and that was Last Night in Soho. And so that's how their name came up. And then I mentioned how I never seen Baby Driver.
Okay.
This came out in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
I had come back at one point for to back to the States helping with family and stuff. And I had gotten Movie Pass because that was still a thing back then. Or it was a lot more abusable back then is the best way for me to say it. So the one time fee, go to as many movies as you want type of deal, or at least once a day at minimum. And so it was. I remember it being in theaters and me being like, "Nah, dog, I'm out. I'm not even going to. I can watch this for free, and I'm not even going to waste my time with it just because it seemed really like silly is the best way to put it. This was starring Kevin Spacey before Spacey was blacklisted for all his
I was going
things
to
that he
mention.
did.
I think that this is probably the last film before he was blacklisted. If not the last film, then last two or three.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure when this came out, it was like like the following couple months.
It was like
That's when all
like
the bad
literally
news dropped.
seconds before he got blacklisted, before all the Kevin Spacey stuff came out. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was one of those things that's like, all right, but I've heard, like I said, I've seen a lot of Edgar Wright stuff. I like a lot of Edgar Wright stuff, so I was like, it's worth a shot. Um, and in the end, I'm like, meh. I've seen it. It was entertaining enough. It's a popcorn movie, and if you like to turn off your brain, I think I don't like the main character. Like the main character is unfortunately not well enough written to like carry the movie. Um, the so the concept is, for those who don't know anything about Baby Driver, even though I just said it's a meh movie, I'd say it's like a 7. So it's like, once again, I wouldn't, if it's on TV and you don't turn the channel, that's fine. But I wouldn't go out and say, hey, you should really watch this movie. But I'm not going to be like, dude, you need to change the channel. So, um, main character goes by the name of Baby. Is a driver for Kevin Spacey's, who's I think goes by Doc, criminal. He's the boss of setting up heists, so bank robberies or just other things to boost. And so you get to meet a lot of different characters. The very first thing you're seeing is him waiting outside a bank while uh, was it John Hamm
Mm-hmm.
and
Jamie Foxx and
no, not Jamie. Well, Jamie Foxx is later, but Bernthal, uh,
John
John
Bernthal.
Bernthal.
I think it's John.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So the guy from The
Punisher.
Walking Dead and The
Walking Dead.
Punisher.
Yeah.
Yep, most recently Punisher. So, which is funny because this takes place in Atlanta. So I was like, okay, The Walking Dead makes sense that they have John Bernthal there. But yeah, so essentially he's the getaway driver for them, and it kind of really make they play with it a little too long, and it gets kind of annoying where everyone questions whether or not the main character baby has some is like on the spectrum or something like that, because everyone's questioning because all he always has um his iPod at the ready, listening to me like listening to music while he's driving it and at all times. um he's a really good driver. And the first little getaway scene that they do is pretty fun, but at the same time, it's just like you see him jamming to a song that's not that well known, and so because it's not that well known, it's really hard to be energized by that, I guess, because it's just like he's enjoying his song. He's literally as the bank robbery is in progress, he's bobbing his head, he's turning on the windshield wipers, he's fully jamming to his his thing, and it's like yeah, I guess it reminds me of Saints Row the Third. Saints Row the Third has a moment in a scripted driving scene early on where the guys are driving, and then what was it? The Sublime song comes on, and the characters in the car are all singing together, and you as you know being the for me, I was the proper age group, but like me and my friends we were like kind of like thinking or singing the song, and then it's funny because at one point they all screw up at the same part, and then even the comment like in like every time like it was really relatable. This
Yeah.
on the other hand, not relatable, because I feel like most people wouldn't know the song that they're currently referencing. And the character baby just loves listening to music. You find it's kind of almost in their DNA because
Hmm.
their mother was a musician, and then later on doesn't know stuff like the band T-Rex. He literally calls them Trex. And I'm like, wait a minute, wait a minute. You're supposed to know all this music. You're supposed to have. He literally has multiple iPods on him at any given time, and you would grew up a band name like that,
And
like
you don't, yeah.
but anyways, it's just the sequences are pretty solid, but at the same time, it's just like, man, he's kind of lucky. Just kind of just like the very first scene, he happens to be driving away in a red car, happens to see on the highway going the other way two other red cars, different models, different makes and models, but they all happen to be all red with the sunroof on it, and just luckily does some stuff and gets away. And it's just like, while the cops chase the other two vehicles essentially. And I'm like, that's a happenstance. Okay. And they do weird stuff like he's driving and the cops go by the other way, and they're like, everyone in the car, the other one's all ducked down. And then here he is looking low and to the right just as he's driving, like, don't look at the cop. And I'm like, that is way more suspicious than anything than just being like, I'm just going to pretend to drive straight and flip my turn signal on and obey the traffic law at that point because you're supposed to be inconspicuous. But yeah, it was just, I don't know. And then it wasn't until a little bit like 20 minutes into the film where he's gifted a pair of driving gloves. And I'm like, he's been boosting cars and leaving these ditched cars on the road without wearing any gloves, like just leaving your fingerprints behind for every car that you've dropped behind. I'm like, that is really suspect as well. I don't know. He's the idea is when he was young, and so they don't actually give you an age. Just said like you just know that he's been doing it for over 10 years because they give an old heist that has a nickname, and he's like, and Jamie Foxx's character is like, that's 10 years ago or something, or someone was like, that's 10 years ago,
He's not all.
and
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
and so like you're thinking he's probably like anywhere from 24 to 26, I guess.
He looks like he's like
it's
20. He looks like he's about 22. So
he does.
25 is like the max that I could possibly think that he would be, which would mean he'd be doing this since he was 15, which isn't impossible. Go ahead. Yeah, I guess whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And then that's the thing is he stole Kevin Spacey's car, didn't realize what's in the trunk, got the car damaged or something like that, and so Kevin Spacey's been making him pay off, um, driving for him to pay off what he owes essentially.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, that's fine. That all is okay. Later on, it gets more creative is the best way for me to put it. With about halfway through, like someone tried pointing this out once on Reddit, and that's it stuck with me. Be like, yeah, because they try to sequence a lot of cuts and rhythms to the music. They only really successfully do that about halfway through the movie, because the first heist and the first couple of things, the music and rhythm doesn't really match too well. It's just like, this is not the right song, nor is it the right editing. I feel like Edgar Wright didn't get his groove, or didn't get his like, it didn't get a vibe for the film until halfway through, and then they do it to the worst song and kind of weirdest moment possible. And they were playing Tequila with a drug during, or not drug, a gun, like a gun buyer, and you're like, things are going wrong, shots are happening to Tequila of all songs, and I'm like, this just doesn't hit right, you know. It's, I don't know. It was one of those things that's like, it was an A for effort, but like a D in execution. I feel it's just like, um, and it's a shame, because it's probably one of my least favorite Edgar Wright films. I think the only one I haven't seen of his was probably what, Paul or something like that. I think.
Oh, is that about the alien?
Yeah,
Okay,
you know,
I've heard good things about that.
I knew people who liked it. I just never got around to it. It was it wasn't, it's like, it was post Cornetto trilogy, I think, or it was either that or right before The World's End. And The
Mm,
World's End is probably, you know what? Okay, so The World's End is in a competition for maybe being the worst film of his,
yeah.
because yeah, I
Okay.
think The World's End is probably worse than this. I think I like Baby Driver better than The World's End, only
I've
because The World's End, uh, you had like, you did not have a likable character at all,
so,
main character, and
so
Simon Pegg was pretty bad in that one.
I don't really know what your definition of recommend is, um, because like I have not. I don't think I've ever really liked this movie, Baby Driver. I so I am struggling to remember recommending this to you as an actual heartfelt recommendation.
No, no, I don't think, no, because you always said it with a grimace. So like,
Okay,
other than
good.
the beginning part. So that was the thing, is that was the only part that I thought that maybe you were talking about, is after the first heist, he goes to get coffee. And they have a very, this is the only time, like, if the whole movie was done more to this, then it would have been pretty, actually, it might have been pretty awesome. But they're playing a song, and I'm forgetting what song it was off the top of my head, but it is literally every lyric is plastered, like, is either spray painted on a wall or on a sign or on a decal, as he's walking to the coffee shop, crossing the street, um post first heist. And as he's going through, it's artistically done. It's the best way for me to put it, but it's fun. And
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. I'm like, maybe this is the scene that you were talking about, because it wasn't that first bank robbery or first driving bit, and I'm like, okay. But that was it. And it's like, all right, I can see that being interesting. Um, but yeah, there's just so many weird, questionable
So
things about this film that just irked me,
this
because
movie, this movie, Baby Driver, it is not it is not cool. But no offense to Edgar Wright, he has done some really great stuff, but this is not the kind of movie that he should have tried to make, or he should have done something differently to understand what he was trying to make. This movie should have been directed by Quentin Tarantino or David Fincher. This movie it's too clean. It is too clean. It is too precise in a like a Sunday school kind of way. It's just like, we're gonna do this, and then we're gonna do this, and we're gonna do this. The main actor, like the lead guy, is not good enough, or he is surrounded by people that are too good, and or they spent all the money on John Hamm, Kevin Spacey, Jamie Foxx, and I forget the girl, and also John Bernthal. That like, uh, so they spent too much money on those people. I think the girlfriend is great. I think the girlfriend is great in this. She's not really in it enough, but I think the actress was kind of at the time kind of coming out of. She was pretty much an unknown, kind of coming out of left field. She also did
um, Lily
yesterday.
James, she did yesterday. She did Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, and Cinderella. I'm not sure if she was the main character of Cinderella. She might have been. Yeah, she was.
Okay.
So she was that 2015 Cinderella. So she did Cinderella beforehand. Um, She did Baby Driver. Post Baby Driver, she did Yesterday. So Yesterday would have been the newer of the things we just mentioned.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, so I thought she was great. As far as like she had great potential. I'll say she didn't really do much in the movie, but she definitely had great potential. Um, and the movie, it wants to be a music movie, but it's like just trying to get there on like licensed music. So it's like, well, I've heard all these songs before, and so I'm not really getting anything new out of this. Um, the best stunt is done early in the movie and is the draw in the trailer, which I kind of get, but you need to have stuff that's pretty close. I was pretty mad. I mean, I was pretty disappointed in this movie. Like that, like watching it for me, I was like, this might be pretty good. And seeing seeing it, I was like, this it's it's just like somebody saw a it's like somebody saw the French Connection and Quentin Tarantino, like Pulp Fiction, and like Fight Club and maybe Drive, and was like, you know what, I'm gonna make a movie like that, and then took out a crown and started doing it. Sorry, Edgar Wright, I'm sorry, but it's not it's like, I know not everything needs to be grimdark, but this movie needed to be grimdark. This movie needed to be gritty. This movie needed to be dirty and ugly and nasty and have blood on, like, splattered on the walls. And it needed to have its own unique indie soundtrack, and it just didn't have any of that. It just was to me, it was
So
just too produced.
okay, I see what you're saying there. I actually think it'd be I actually think having an indie soundtrack would actually make it worse. Um, I think the reason I think when you do something like this, when you're connecting, trying to do if you're trying to relate to beats to music to get the vibes, I think you need to curate having already well known songs is one thing. I think that's why the opening scene doesn't do so well because it's not a song that everyone knows off the top of their head.
Mm,
Um, and then when they finally do like the tequila scene, I find that to be really jarring because like it's just a really weird song to do it with, and it's not they're trying to go for a hard action vibe, but with that that's more of a comical or like a light-hearted scene, but instead it's a weapons deal gone wrong, and it's a dark setting and things are it's I think there's not enough consistency with this film. The main character, the whole concept is everyone, uh whether it's was it not John Hamm, but Bernthal. Whether it's Bernthal or Jamie Foxx, it's like they both are like you're going to get your hands dirty. You can't, they're constantly reiterating this point. Like you can't just be, like pretend to be like squeaky clean.
mm,
Well, he's at one point. So one of the quirks of this person is he likes to record conversations of like the heist or the certain parts and likes to does their own mixtapes. They don't play any mixtape except for one, and that's it. Like there is 60 plus, like 64 or 63 mixtapes, with one being just Mom. So you figured that's not a mixtape. And then later on adds something else. But like I sat there and read all of them, and that's how come they mentioned like I forget something like something 85, and that happened. So I read that title of the cassette, and later on they bring up um because Jamie Foxx is doubting his capabilities, and then Kevin Spacey's like, "You ever hear of like the Spirit of '85 or something like that?" And it was a big car chase that
mm.
went on for a long time, and like on I-85 or something like that. And I'm like, okay, well that's cool. I'm glad I read that. So that means they are related to all the cases, like you are assumed to. So that means he's done over 60 of these things. Um, and he's never once caused an accident, which like or anything fatality wise. But later on, there's a armored car heist that's gone wrong, and once again, it's just like his character is so weirdly written that like he has to play the music and he has to restart his songs and he always has to have certain things playing in order for him to get his mojo going.
Yeah.
Um, and that scene, it's an editorial thing, right? They do it so you don't have to see the violence, but he's sitting there jamming in his car, and at one point, then he drives forward just far enough so his physical body is blocking the violence that is happening to the security guards because you see him guy get knocked out, but
Mhm.
then at a certain point in the song, he then rolls back. He hits reverse just like a half car length back because he goes half a car forward, starts jamming to his music, goes half car back, just in the perfect timing for the guys to run back with the money. And then he's stuck like a deer in headlights, saying like, "Oh my goodness, one of the security guards was shot dead," and you're assumed so because he's lying on the ground, blood pooling from him. Um, and then as he's trying to escape, he ends up like I think he does like a Rockford File 180,
Mhm.
and he hits one of the money carts, knocks a security guard. Security guard goes head over the cart, smashing into the ground. Um, Presumed severely injured, real bad head trauma, if not dead. They don't bring it up at all.
It's like,
Zero
he's
consequence for the main
fine.
character.
He's
Well, the
fine.
thing is, they make sure to after each heist kind of have these little news blurbs because his caretaker because his folks are gone, and so his caretaker kind of sees the news and stuff like that, and it's just like I was expecting them to blurb like how this guard is either dead or critically injured to give him a moral like consequence, like, oh yeah, like I just did something bad to this person physically, like me myself, not like the people I'm with. But no, zero consequence. And I'm like, but yeah, at the same time he's trying to prevent death, like in that very same chase, because there's a guy who's trying to be a hero, trying to stop them, and Jamie Foxx has a clear line of sight to shoot the guy, and then he specifically jerks the car and bumps the shotgun to try to prevent the guy getting the good guy from getting shot in the face.
Yeah.
And but that's literally after he just knocked this cart into this person and probably
I,
killed or brain damaged
I
this person.
mean, yeah,
So like there's
like
very yeah.
like this movie. This movie it doesn't do things interestingly enough to me from the go for me to really care about the continuity problems or errors, which I guess there are some. Don't like if you are out there and you haven't seen Drive and you haven't seen Baby Driver, don't watch Baby Driver, just watch Drive. And if you have seen Drive and you haven't seen Baby Driver, don't watch Baby Driver, just go watch Drive again, because that is what I want this movie essentially to be, is cool, gritty, with like a weird soundtrack that you've never heard before. There's it's too gimmicky, it's too bright. It's just there's just Baby Driver was one of those movies like, oh, that looks kind of good. And then when I actually watched it, I was like, yeah, they missed the mark. They just missed the mark.
That's funny. 'Cause like I said, it's like I had the opportunity to see it in theaters and I chose not to because it just didn't look good to me. But because it was Edgar Wright and it was like I'm willing to give it a shot.
You know,
And
it probably
I,
would have been better in theaters though. Like I think the theater makes movies
when it
0.25
comes to
better
something like this, when
at least.
you have a sense of speed, when you're having like the camera motion, like those sequences might have been better. But honestly, it's like wouldn't have made it that much better because a lot of the driving scenes weren't as good as like they could have been. Um, and that's the thing is like I say, this is uh I think that was it. John Hamm's character
Mhm.
was really solid. I was actually kind of like I was taken aback. I'm like, all right, John Bernthal like wasn't in as much as I thought he would be. But granted, they're not on the cover, so that makes sense. Um, Jamie Foxx's character was was just okay. They tried making him seem way more hard on the cover. They specifically have him holding up his fingers like as if he's holding a gun, but like missing two fingers. They never once show or mention anything about the hand or like the fingers being missing. So I
See,
was just like,
see. This movie is. See, you said like 7. I think you're probably being generous there.
I am. It's probably for me for it's probably a 6. But once again, it's one of those things that
I
I
was.
wouldn't stop someone from watching it if it was on TV. But I'm
Yeah,
not going to be like, dude.
yeah.
Listen, even if you're Edgar Wright fan, I'm not going to go out and be like, you should watch this to
Like
completely
if you had already emptied the bottle of vodka into your gullet, and it was like popping up on Netflix and all you had to do was press play, I would say, yeah, go for it. Um,
Don't empty the bottle. What you do is you start with a fresh bottle and a friend,
no,
and then you play this drinking game. Okay, so
no, no,
every time, yes,
no.
every time baby puts on a pair of sunglasses, every time they show an iPod, it's just, every time he lip syncs to the song, every time someone says baby, yeah, it's just like
Oh
you
God.
will have a great day, and
So
maybe not make it through the film.
so that is in your that is in Joe's universe, but in Nick's canonical universe, you've already consumed the bottle of liquor, whether it be whatever your choice is, and you really cannot do anything except maybe press one button, and it's on Baby Driver on Netflix. So you're just gonna freaking do that. So a 6 is about right, maybe 5.5. So what 5.5 means out of 10 is it is positive versus 5 or 4.5 being negative in terms of reviews. And and therefore this movie is a perfect example of what is wrong with Rotten Tomatoes. This movie has a 92% Rotten Tomatoes rating and an 86% popcorn meter. So this movie is like you are watching it and you're like, this is fine.
So this is a Nick movie. Okay, this is a Nick movie. This is Michael Bay, Bayformers, number 3 or 4. You go to theaters.
No,
you paid money to see that stuff. That's a you movie.
No, because those movies we know those movies are bad or good depending that they're polarizing. This movie is like, if I can get back to my point, this movie is just in that perfect zone to be like, I don't hate it, but I really never want to see it again. So it is like that 5.56, and everybody thinks that pretty much, just like everybody thinks that, and so it has a super high rating on Rotten Tomatoes because Rotten Tomatoes is just yay or nay across the board. So like you have 92% of reviewers going, yeah, it's fine. And so you look on here and you're like, holy crap, this is a 92%. It's going to be a great movie. And you watch it and you're like, this was just kind of like a lukewarm milk, you know? Anyway, so that was just me taking my chance to rant against Rotten Tomatoes, but also to say that it's just it's just fine. If you're already drunk, you can watch it. And if you're not already drunk and you're stuck in a basement, with only this movie and a DVD player, and a bottle of liquor, with somebody else that Joe has left you down there with, then yeah, play the drinking game that Joe has plastered on the wall. So,
Once again, I think the movie would progressively get better if you're drinking with the game with it, because they're also you're paying better attention.
When is that not true, Joe? When is that not true?
I mean, you are already in a spiral of depression because you've already finished your bottle, and then you're out, and then you're like, well, now I have nothing left in life. Okay,
Speak for yourself.
Saying. You would then try to find that extra bottle you left in the oven, and then you just turn it on, and you just that's how Nick goes out. I'm like,
no,
I'm sorry,
I'm way past that. I'm drinking Listerine right now.
But yeah. All right. So once again, yeah, that's insane that the Rotten Tomatoes is so high.
It's freaking. But that's what I've been saying it for years. Like that's what's wrong with Rotten Tomatoes. That's why I quit looking at Rotten Tomatoes, because I was like, oh, this is just yay or nay. And so if you're just tiny,
like I clicked on the audience thing. It says 4.1 stars. I'm like, oh, well, I'm curious, like how I've never actually tried giving a rating. And it's rare that I have closer in common. I still think IMDb is too high, and they're usually more cynical and usually more they're usually harsher on a lot of things that are average, like okay.
Mm-hmm.
But then if it's an artsy project, then they're usually a little too forgiving, like they up it too much because they're all pretentious. At least
you are 100% right. Like IMDb is more pretentious, and so if you're they're yeah, they are more pretentious, so they're going to be a little bit softer on indie projects and avant-garde stuff. But but if you know that, and then going into IMDb, otherwise, I think they're probably a little bit more accurate. There's a lot of stuff that's on IMDb where I'm like, that's not a 7, and then there's some stuff that's like, that's not a 9, that's not an 8.
This is a 7.5 on IMDb, which is just like I said. That's weird as hell.
So I
Yeah, like
know
I said,
that
I'm not sure
I
what.
know what I just said about IMDb, but I take it all back. IMDb is shit compared to, it's just, I mean, 2017, like that's, I guess it was just a simpler time or something. I don't know.
Yeah, well, once again, I mean, this is that 2017. I'm pretty sure was still the same time as The Greatest Showman, which everyone loves except for me, and I still will argue the fact that that movie is complete garbage. Um, but still better than this, maybe. I don't know. It's kind of hard to say. I don't know. I think it's a better music. Greatest Showman's a better musical, but as a thing that I would rather
Than
sit
this
through,
movie that is
and
not a
I would
musical.
I would rather sit through Baby Driver. Yeah, that's how much I hate The Greatest Showman. All right. So, anyways,
Okay.
second worst Edgar Wright film. Uh, that is what I'll say about this. I'm just like I said, The World's End is probably the worst, and just a disappointment in that front. But
Yeah, I think 6 is probably good. Probably a good rating for this.
I think 6 is fair for this. But once again, that's still in my realm of, hey, if it's on, I'm not. I'm like, it's like I wouldn't, if you were like, hey, I'm just gonna watch this. I'm like, I'm not gonna necessarily stop you. I might warn you, but at the same time, I'm not gonna be like, turn that crap off. It's up to you. If I have to sit through it, then you better have something for me to drink. So
Mm-hmm.
all right, and that's it for Baby Driver. And then I guess the last bit is I finished the last couple of books for the Murderbot Diaries. So I think I forget how far I was last time. I think I was in the middle of like Network Effect book 5. I think when last time I gave my update, and
How many are there total that you've read?
there's 7. There's 7
Okay.
out right now. 7 official like volumes. Um, I would say book 5 is the only full volume. Like the rest of them are like smaller. So like books 1 through 4 essentially is like one normal volume, like one normal book.
Okay.
Um, so they're there. That's why they're really easy to go through. They're really short. But yeah, Network Effect was a full length, and then they went with book 6 was Fugitive Telemetry, and that is actually it kind of fills the slot between book 4 and 5, uh, which I in book 5 they keep on mentioning a thing that happened, like kind of off screen, so they're relating to a previous event. So then I thought that book 6 was going to be going through that event, and I'm like, ah, man, like I don't need you to make a whole book about that event you've already pretty much told me the outcome of. I know how it ends, so I didn't like, but it's not that. It is completely something completely different, and I'm like, okay, great. It was a new story, and it was a good story. Granted, I would still prefer to continue on, but as a filler, like literally put between book 4 and 5, I'm like, all right, that's fine. And then book 6 takes place immediately after, or book 7. I'm sorry, book 7 takes place after 5. So it goes 5 and then 7 as far as chronological goes. The next one is called, or I'm sorry, the last book, book 7 was um, System Collapse, and then it's Platform Decay is what they've recently announced, the newest one to be, and that's going to come out. It has a projected date of May 1st, so it's probably a fake date, but May 1st of 2026. Um, so I thought the rumor mill had that they were split because they were contracted for like 4 more books as of book 6 or something like that, and so they came out with book 7. There were supposed to be some other ones coming out within a certain span of time, but uh, I've according to the Reddit thread or something like that, that the author Martha Wells had gotten sick,
Right.
um, and so dealing with medical issues, and therefore postponing release. Which hopefully they are better or they get better. Not sure what I haven't done a lot of diving in on that. But as far as being caught up with the entire series, it's enjoyable. It gets better. The series had got better. Like it starts off a little rough, um, but by far gets more interesting, and it just builds upon itself. It is literally just one event after another. Um, if you were to tell me that this all took place within 6 months, like from start to finish, I would believe it. At the same time, it could, but because of certain gaps in story, you're like, oh yeah, they could have been, months apart. This could have been in a couple of years or something like that. I'm like, okay, I believe that too.
Mm.
But for sure, a couple of these last books are like are very close to one after another. Book uh 5 and 7 are back to back within the same, like, because the main, like, one main event ends and then they just roll through to the next event kind of deal. uh all very, like I said, it gets way better, and it's one of those things that it's nice to see that the series gets more complete, because usually as things go on you find things to fall apart. And as far as, like, the books do get a little bit bigger later on, or at least 6 and 7 are a little bit bigger, but they're still shorter. As far as, like, if you're looking at a real, like, a giant novel like a Harry Potter, like Harry Potter probably volume 1 is still probably bigger than any of these. So
34 pages. Yeah, these are short. I read the first one. I have the others in my backlog that I will get to. I have a reading goal this year, and I'm a few books behind. But I have these in my back pocket because they're like 4 or 5 hours, right? For a lot of them, I
yeah.
think the later ones get. I think that like the last one or something was like more of a normal book size instead of a novella, like 10 or 12 hours. I only think in terms of hours because I just listen to so many audiobooks now instead of actually read. But but yeah, these are like I've
No,
heard these
the
are
last
good.
the last one's like 6 hours.
Okay.
I think it's around six. No, it's only it's that book five.
Oh,
Five is like 12 hours or
that's the
something.
one.
That's the only one that's like an official novel by itself. Yeah, everything else is, I forget. Like, I don't know if you call them novelettes or it's like not quite
Novella.
light novel. I don't. Yeah, novella maybe. So, like, once again, it's like it always reminds me, and it's not to be dismissive of it, but it reminds me of, like, the early, like, the teen readers, kind of like,
Mm.
they're like little books meant for, like, late middle school, early high school era, like, just the little thin paperbacks. It
Well,
reminds me of those more so than uh you know like I said, a full on heavy volume, or like
right.
even your standard like Tom Clancy, like paperback. It's just like these, like I said, the first four stories can easily be put into be compared to as a single normal volume of a book, and the story flows smoothly enough that it really does suit well. That, like, if they were to do a what do you call it, not a compendium, but when you have, and maybe a compendium, but
Omnibus.
yeah, Magnibus, something, what they do with the manga, like that. They'll
Oh,
take
okay.
a bunch of them and put them into one. I'm like,
Like
these are very much ripe for that. If you give me just one, like, give me two volumes with everything they have so far, that's fine.
that would
You know,
be pretty great. Yeah, like a Murderbot omnibus, because then you would have. I mean, you could do. Yeah, you could do part one, part two. You could do. You could probably do the first four books would be kind of long, but then first four books, and then the last three books. That could work. But yeah, like it's bold. It was a bold choice by Martha Wells to go with these novella short things, but they're. I've only read the first one, and it was good. Um, but like to just for her to realize, hey, I have this much story, and the story needs to just be this, and put that out, and it works because like it's pretty popular, and pretty much everybody you hear from says, hey, this is actually really good. They have a Netflix, or they have an Apple TV Plus series that I've watched a little bit of. I think I've stopped watching it because I do want to read the rest of these books first, and I think that the series, um I just don't really want it in my head as I'm trying to read these books. So I'm gonna, but I am planning to finish these. So it's good to hear that they continue to be good even past the first one.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I'll clarify. The audiobooks that I went through were the ones that were narrated by Kevin R. Free.
Yeah.
They do have the dramatized adaptation of these, and
Yes.
I just didn't. They are a little shorter, so they're kind of slightly abridged. For example, the last one, the book seven, System Collapse. That one is a roughly 6.5 hour audiobook, but then the dramatization is 5 hours, so they cut an hour and a half out. Um, you know, I what I did is when I first picked these up, I quick did just a quick internet search, and it seemed that fans generally like the Kevin R. Free ones a little bit better. So that's what I gravitated towards, and I generally like the way that they read. So it's just like, I don't know how much other flair, how many other voice actors or sound effects,
Mm.
like I don't know if it's probably every voice cast, every character is cast by a new person with the dramatization. Um, so once again, they are obviously popular enough to have this done, which is
Mm.
saying something, right? So not every major book, very few major books that are really popular get a dramatization done by it. So that's at least interesting. And if you
Mm.
want, that it might be a fun comparison for others out there. But I'd still recommend, um, like even book one, All Systems Red. That one's at 3 hours 17 minutes here on looking on was it Audible,
Yeah.
and so it's either 317 or the dramatization is 2 hours 33 minutes. So you're still losing roughly about 45 minutes. Of
We're gonna start measuring how much life is lost to entertainment by how good it is. Yeah, I mean, these books are, at least the first one, at the very least the first one, because that's all I can really speak to, is definitely worth it. It's definitely worth the time. It's short, it's sweet, it gets to the point. It's I think that the TV series makes it more funny than it was to me, but it does have some levity to it. And it just doesn't waste it. Just, you know, the main thing that I ask my entertainment to do for me now is just not waste my time. And this falls into that category of something that just does not waste your time. Um, and so yeah, I can give the recommendation for that at least.
Yeah, for sure. So that's it. After finishing everything, I enjoyed my time with it, and I'm excitedly hoping that the next volume does come out in May. Because yeah, it's just these because the story is it's just one continuous story essentially. I'm enjoying that aspect of it. It's in a sense, if you like anything, uh, if you grew up like with the Harry Potter series or something like that, it's fun knowing that it's just like it's a continuation. It's not like a big
Mm,
time gap. It's like a lot of novels will have the same character, but who knows how much time has happened. Um, and this
so
is this
so
if there is a time gap in between there, they kind of fill you in just a little bit, being like, oh yeah, well this little bit happened and these kind of slight experience, but really you didn't miss much. And they in that little synopsis they've explained to you what you missed. So it's like it has a lot of major, it their writing has gotten better, and it's kind of neat to see that too, like, or at least I found the characters to be more maybe because you pick up on their quirks. The first one is a little bit I'm kind of glad it doesn't hold your hand as well, I guess. All Systems Red, it doesn't try to do a huge info dump, explain the world. It explains just
mm,
enough for you,
mm,
and then it makes it just like you're just rolling with it.
yeah.
And as you pick up more volumes, you're like, okay, you're getting more context clues, or you're getting a little more info dumps on everything else. There's
Which
still
I think is
questions.
the right
There,
way to do it. I think it's like, sh- show me the thing and then tell me the rest that I need to know as I need to know it. Don't, spoilers for
don't
Matrix
tell.
2, but don't take me into the architect's room and dump all of the junk that you have to say. Also, you heard it here first, people. Murderbot Diaries as good or better than Harry Potter?
Less controversy, that's for sure. So at least for now, only time will tell. Okay, guys, that's it for what for that bit. Nick, you've gone ahead and scoured for the news for the last week. What do you have for us?
Last week, you mean like about an hour before we started this podcast?
I'm trying to give you more credit. Okay, that's it. I'm just trying to give you more credit than you're worth. But
credit where credit is not due. Joe, do you speak German?
Not at all.
Okay. Well, you're going to learn it because Amazon is making a Wolfenstein TV show. And it has some of the same people as the Fallout TV show attached to it. I have the article pulled up, but I'm too lazy to click on it because reasons. Yeah, so I mean, Amazon, who would have thought Amazon would be our our saviors when it comes to video game film adaptations. Yeah, I think that this is a that this I am I am a Rotten Tomatoes positive on this idea right now. I think Wolfenstein in general is kind of a batshit crazy world, and it and like the Fallout people have already shown, or the Fallout people, Bethesda and Amazon have already shown, hey, we can kind of make this kind of crazy world and sort of make it believable. I think Wolfenstein is weirder and funnier in a sick, twisted way than Fallout is. I hope that they lean into that a little bit more, and that would be where I would worry, or that's where my worry is that they would be a little bit more. They might be a little bit too serious about it and be too, kind of like, hey, this is real and these people are kind of real. Where it's like, Wolfenstein needs to be kind of kooky, but
I think you're right when it comes to this. It should be Wolfenstein 09 because they lean into the camp.
Yes, yeah, Wolfenstein 09. I didn't really have much to do with Wolfenstein until 2014, which was that like reboot by MachineWorks. And I'm just reminded of the part, spoilers, in the Fallout first season where Fred Armistead pops out as like a cameo. That was great. That was hilarious. That needs to be more often occurring in a Wolfenstein TV show. Maybe not exactly Fred Armistead, but like sort of some silly, craziness, weirdness, funniness that pops out, along with like, kind of married with the violence. And I do need to see, Fallout's fine, had enough violence or whatever for what it was, but Wolfenstein needs to have more, Inglorious Bastards style of like, just like crazy violence, I think.
So my bad. You're right. 2014 is what I was thinking of. The New Order is what it was. Yes. That one was where they lean into the camp and they, they give you your split timeline of who you saved and who you didn't, and that kind of, not drastically, but it affects the story enough to where like you will meet or not meet certain major people later on, which is insane. Because they have the writing is pretty solid and it's just a pretty fun ride. That they really kind of really understood the assignment when they redid that. And if they have that kind of level of like writing slash a concept of world building, that is what people are expecting. Though I think it'd be really funny if they just bring it back to like Wolfenstein 1, just stuck in prison, break your way out, first person perspective, a la the old Doom movie. Uh,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
like
I
the
mean,
one thing when
but
that Doom movie
that would be one way to go with it. I think that this like didn't Fallout like have kind of a resurgence after the TV show came out? I feel like it was like selling better, or they had it. I think they had it like for free on PlayStation or something for a minute.
it did see a spike in
Yeah,
in sales. The Once again, I think you're right though. It's weird that Amazon Prime would be the ones to do these things better, or and especially when you have like the joke of Netflix just pretty much bringing all your stuff to be buried there, ruining all your favorite childhood stuff.
it just makes it
I mean,
mediocre. It's just like, well, what if it's like Netflix lives in the world of like, that thing that you love that you think is so amazing and cool. Well, what if there was an alternate universe where that thing that you love was not cool? What would that be like? And then they make that version of it.
yeah, it's or some in some cases it's let's take your favorite, one of your iconic childhood memories, and let's just set it on fire in front of you, and then will then proceed, instead of peeing on it, we'll just take a dump on it
I
instead,
don't
um
I don't want to
and
talk
let
about
that
George
smell linger.
Lucas, Joe. I don't want to talk about George Lucas again. We have we have
Oh, I'm
run.
talking about Cowboy Bebop. Okay.
Oh
um,
no! I purged that
yeah,
from my
just when you
no.
thought you could forget, I'm here to rip off that wound band-aid, and just pour some salt into that scab of yours.
Oh God! I will
So
get you.
well,
I
I
will
mean,
get you back for this.
I hadn't mentioned it because it was like a week or two ago, but like Netflix is supposed to be making a Fist of the North Star adaptation, and everyone's like, "Well, that One Piece one was pretty good." I'm like, "One Piece, like I'm like even a broken clock could be right, like
Twice a day,
maybe twice a day." It's just like,
blind pig
so
find an
out of
acorn.
ruining so many other things on Netflix, they finally did one thing that was okay. Um, but this is all, it's one of those things that's like, yeah,
But One
Fist of the
Piece is
North Star.
already.
Yeah, go on.
Are you ready to get canceled, Joe? One Piece is already mediocre. So Netflix making a mediocre version of that is basically just making it right.
Yeah, I don't have patience for One Piece. I despise Luffy. So I mean, I liked it back when I was a child, and I actually saw it when it first came out in Japan, and then I
Mm.
remember, was it Fox brought it over to, and they changed the opening theme song to their like One Piece rap, and it was just, I'm
Oh.
like, nope, I'm out. It's like
Oh.
that era of Fox Kids ruined a lot of anime. Though I will defend Yu-Gi-Oh. I love those terrible accents in Yu-Gi-Oh.
I haven't thought
But
about
anyways,
Fox Kids in a while. So Joe is saying that he is a One Piece hipster. He was there before it was cool.
and before it became the longest, or one of the longest running things that should have just died forever ago, like The Simpsons.
Before they
It's when
redid
it get canceled. Here
their
we go. Yeah, The Simpsons also
arcs.
sucks. Cancel that too. They should just stop.
So, sorry,
Yeah, Fox.
cancel what?
The Simpsons. Just end The Simpsons now.
You can't at
Um,
this point. I mean, it's it's like a it's like a it's an American pastime. Like we just can't. It's unstoppable. It's just
just because it's American pastime doesn't mean we should still have it around, like
I'm
baseball.
not
Get rid of
saying we
baseball.
should.
That's
I'm
American
saying we
pastime.
can't.
Get rid of baseball.
We should we should we should cancel The Simpsons. We should cancel nuclear weapons, but we can't. Like we just there's no stopping it anymore. Anyway, Wolfenstein, it's going to be a TV show hopefully on Amazon. Hopefully it'll be as good. Um yeah.
It'll be a weird thing if Prime does live action game or adaptations better than they do anime, which at this if they do this well, they'll have a better track record because their anime is kind of hit and miss. So yeah, fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. I'm fine with that. I mean, if Amazon really does come out and is like, you know what, we're gonna kick ass in video game, real, live action adaptations, and they are good. even if they're all just Bethesda properties, like I'm, if it's good, I'm fine with that. Like so far in the past 10 years, I've consumed more hours of Bethesda TV shows than I have Bethesda video games, and I'm fine with that because Bethesda games are, well, they are Bethesda games. And if you understand what that means, then you know what I mean. Um,
Yeah.
Going on. Mind's Eye uh, crossover with Hitman has been delayed indefinitely. Um, with Builder Rocket Boy saying that updates may also be less frequent, I guess, to Mind's Eye. Yeah, I think that this is the proper move from IOI um, or IO Interactive um, because of the fiasco that Mind's Eye kind of has become. It makes sense to distance themselves, even though they're the publisher, to distance themselves from this until they can properly put, until it's decent and playable in a decent way, that they can put their baby of Hitman into the game. And I think that's probably the main reason why they're doing it is because it's just too icky to put in Hitman right now. Even if it would work fine, it's just too problematic.
You don't
Um,
want to ruin your brand. That is the wrong promotion for yourself.
yeah,
And if
because
Rockstar knows what they're doing, they need to make a spoof off this and then have a mission or something, a character come in where it's a bald character, but instead of a barcode on the back, the barcode's like right in the forehead or something like that, just as a wink and a nod to the this having a hitman esque character instead, or making them be the target or something like that. Just some edge lord target. But yeah,
yeah,
some sort of copycat. And yeah, just completely rub it into Mind's Eye. But yeah, it's no, you're 100% right. IO Interactive needs to pull away from Mind's Eye because you don't want it. It just looks bad. There's no saving this game at this point. Of course there's not going to be enough updates because they're just going to write this as a loss, unfortunately, and they've already cut down on the staff. It's not
yeah, they
surprising.
gutted the stuff.
Yeah, so I just it's a wipe their hands clean. Uh, you know, put it, write the ledger in red, and then just move on. That's all they got to do.
That's all they probably can do. Delayed indefinitely. Just if it was a software issue, if it was like an integration issue or programming issue, they being this close, they would have said, "Well, we're going to push it back to November or something like that." Some date. But indefinitely means like, yeah, we are just. I mean, to me at least, we are just not going to touch this. It's too. It's it's just hazardous material. It's too radioactive to get anywhere near, which is sad because we want games to do well, any and all games to do well. Um, I,
Especially in a world where everyone is complaining about wanting new IP, and when a new
yes,
IP comes out this Fire Festival bad, that you're just like, well, now you wonder why everyone else is going to go ahead and make a sequel, and yeah. So, and then in this case, it's bad enough to the point where like no one's going to want to make a sequel of this. Like, there's just unless if it's a new everything, but
yeah.
like still, why would you want to have an association with something this bad? This is going to be a parody point for other games to mock in their game.
Mm,
Like some Ubisoft or something game is going, some new Assassin's Creed is going to have some. Some wink and a nod to this or something. That's all you can do because that's how bad this is, and that's
you
like I said,
you
it's a shame.
know you know Gran Turismo 6 is, or not Gran Turismo, Grand Theft Auto. They're gonna re-release Gran Turismo 6, and they're gonna make, so Grand Theft Auto 6, GTA 6 is going to have a joke about Mind's Eye in it. I mean, it's probably going to be slapdash or like put in there last minute or whatever, like some kind of line or something. But they're going to just have a little gut punch for Mind's Eye. I can already see it, because that's what I would do. I'd be like, oh, so you're gonna like leave the company and go do your own thing, like, and say that you're like us? No. Um, so it's sad to see, but I hope that they can figure it out over there at Build a Rocket Boy. I hope they can get it working really well, and that, because it's a game that doesn't look on its face, vertical slice doesn't look bad, looks pretty cool. At this point, though, I fully expect there to be some massive discounts here for the fall sales.
I'm just
And
gonna air horn this thing. Let's just all right. We're cutting this off. We're just gonna roll on because it's like they're not worth saving,
I just
and we
want to
got more news. Let's go
keep
to that.
beating it over the head. Magic the Gathering Final Fantasy set made $200 million in one day. It's now the best selling MTG set ever, and I am not happy about it. I think that this is like this isn't really why I stopped playing MTG. I guess I stopped because it just sort of like it just wasn't really new enough. I didn't play it for that long because I'm not like somebody from the 90s or something that has been playing for like literally 30 years here. But I did play some Magic Arena and I enjoyed quite a bit of it. I got to gold ranking because I figured out some stuff and kind of never was able to get back to that point, but that's fine. But I got a little bit bored with it because I just sort of started to see sort of the same things over and over again. I think that Final Fantasy, Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, it was really the Strixhaven, which is like the Harry Potter crossover. The Strixhaven one was where I was kind of like, yeah, I'm out. I'm not going to keep updating this. I'm not going to keep an idea in my head about trying to play this game anymore. I don't love the crossovers. They make a ton of money. I get it. I don't want to play Magic the Gathering to play Final Fantasy. I want to play Magic the Gathering to play Magic the Gathering. I want it to.
That's your problem. You wanted to play Magic the Gathering, okay? Now the most of the people who are helping with this surge of sales, they're not playing Magic the Gathering. They're playing the gacha collecting card game,
Yes.
where they're trying to collect, Pokemon. They're trying to collect them all. And you know what? As much as I hate Magic the Gathering, the Final Fantasy collaboration, the art looks good in a lot of these
Looks
cards.
good,
Like and so therefore, like even me, I was like, maybe I'll pick up a pack or something. I'm like, no, I won't, because my RNG is so bad that I'm going to get like the most common garbage stuff. So I'm like, it's not even worth it for me. Or I'll have just so many duplicates that's not even worth it. So, but nonetheless, I can see why this would sell gangbusters because the art is really solid. As far as playing the game, meh, I can, it's whatever. Unfortunately, this is going to continue on. We've had our problems with Wizards of the Coast for a while for other things D&D related and stuff, and they do what they need to do to make themselves money and to keep themselves afloat. I don't necessarily support them, nor will I be buying a pack. But if I'm gifted a pack, then I'll take it. But other than that, that's it. Like
we'll make that a
once
Patreon
again,
tier. Gift Joe a pack of Magic cards.
And then watch me open with disappointment on live stream. There you go.
It doesn't have. It only has comments. It only has comments.
Why do I only have land? And wait a minute, it doesn't make any sense. It's not even in the right art style.
And it's only only the swamplands. It's only the blacklands.
But yeah. Anyways, all right. So
yeah.
Hopefully better collaborations in the future. Something that gets you back in. If they had the anime waifu set, you'd be in on it in day one. I know you would.
Look, Joe,
bunny girls
we
all
don't
around.
have to point everything out that's true all the time. Not that is true, but just as a PSA. Yeah, just stop the collaborations. I know it won't stop. Just make something kind of original. I know I'm an idiot. I'll hold my breath until that happens. Okay, going right along. Last three little tidbits of news, and then we'll get you out of here. Um, we won. Microsoft backs off the $80 price point for Outer Worlds 2. It's going to be $70. And you're going to be glad to pay $70, aren't you, Joe?
After the first month, I'll be glad to pay $50. So yes.
50. That's a pretty deep cut. Okay. Well, I'm sure that the library will have it soon enough. Yeah. So.
Well, I mean, Game Pass. Just play it on Game Pass. They'll blame, people blame the numbers and the sales numbers not being as high, but they'll blame it on Game Pass because guess what? You might as well just play it on PC or Xbox Game Pass, and it's worth that. It's probably worth that subscription plus everything else you get under it for that month alone.
Yeah.
All right. I really liked the previous game, but yeah, the moment they decided to announce it coming at this price, once again, it's I'm one of the only fans out there who really did like the Outer Worlds.
Yeah.
But it was a short game. You had a lot of fun with what you could do in that short amount of time, and if they make it more fully fleshed out, I think that'd be great. But there's so much that can either go right or go wrong with it, so it's really a toss up. It's a 50-50. Like, good luck to them. Once again, I don't see a point on buying it because of Game Pass, and that's their own damn business model. That's on them.
That's
okay?
Their own damn business model. Well, they laid off 9,000 people to hold the $80 price point, but it just couldn't withstand public opinion, and they had to drop it down to 70. So if they were really going to hold the $80 price point, they probably would have had to lay off about 10 or 12,000 people. So thankfully, Microsoft is merciful, and they want to keep people in gainful employment. Last two things on a more somber note. Ozzy Osbourne this past week passes away at the age of 76. And then also Hulk Hogan died this week too, just a couple days ago at the age of 71. So, thoughts and prayers with their families. These guys were Ozzy, man, what an icon. What was he still playing a concert like right the week before he died? Is that right?
Yeah, he it was pretty much touting it as like his farewell concert. There's a lot of there's literally information about it and stuff like that about the difficulties of going through it. But pretty much knowing that they were on the way out. And I mean, good on them for for doing that. It's like I'm not sure if it's necessarily headline bait or like how true it is. I didn't fact check, but it's supposed to be like a lot of donations or was from the proceeds of that concert. Yeah, I mean, I grew up with Ozzy Osbourne, Black Sabbath. Specifically, Paranoid was the album that I grew up with, and that had like a lot of the bangers. War Pigs, Iron Man.
Yeah.
It's just so it's very much it's a weird wild trip because going from rock star, then going independent, but then when growing up then having the Osbournes on TV and I'm like, no, I refuse to watch you. This is the least metal thing you've ever done, and that's my mental you are 100% a sellout. I'm out. But then watching their career still roll super strong, I'm like, despite everything, like they knew how to adapt with the times, and that's amazing.
That's got to be Sharon, right? Like Sharon had to be the one that spearheaded that whole thing. Is like, you know what, we can make money off of our family. It was super popular when it came out. It was like, are you seeing this stuff? Oh, they just they like had to have subtitles for Ozzy because you couldn't understand what he was saying.
Yeah, once again, it was like whether it's how much of it was performance and how much of it was like legit, who knows? But it was most definitely a way to revitalize the career and stay relevant.
Yeah.
Surprisingly so, and it's a long time musician that influenced a lot of other people, and yeah.
Great.
And I know you're a big wrestling fan, and Hulk Hogan was most definitely at one point like the biggest entertainer in the US for sure.
It's hard for people who didn't grow up in the 90s to understand, and especially the 80s, who didn't to understand how big of a freaking deal Hulk Hogan was. I mean, he was literally he could have run for president and won in probably like 1989 or so. And he kind of went away, and then he kind of came back, hardcore in the late 90s with like NWO and stuff like that. Um, and he was he couldn't really transition to movies. I think he was probably about 5 or 10 years, probably like 10 years too early to be able to do what The Rock was able to do, and other wrestling stars have been able to do. But I think he would have, if he was like 10 years later, he probably would have been able to transition to movies a lot better. But that just wasn't what, Vince McMahon was going to allow at the time. But yeah, Hulk Hogan passed away at 71. Um, Controversial in a lot of ways, especially later on in his career. I was reading a Kotaku article about him, and Kotaku is very salty about losing their lawsuit that he and his estate or whatever put on him or on them. I think they have some good points, but it's neither here nor there.
What was the lawsuit? I actually don't know about this Kotaku.
I didn't read all about it, but there is a nice little. So there was a sex tape lawsuit, and basically,
that's where that's where the racism and everything and all the other stuff came
out. Probably, I was gonna get to that. But basically, like, I'll read a little bit of this. It was the week after Gawker was finally forced to close in August 2016 that I first started editing Kotaku on the weekends. Blah, blah. Peter Thiel's Hulk Hogan lawsuit technically only destroyed Gawker, but the damage didn't stop there. Blah, blah. The world doesn't need another retread of the lawsuit itself. They're just basically like saying, like, well, they won the lawsuit, but really they shouldn't have because this or that and this or that. And I'm like, you might be right, but they're basically saying they lost on a technicality because they didn't want to pursue it or whatever. I just think it's funny because Kotaku is salty about it. But yeah, like scrolling through Twitter, because that's how I get all my news. I didn't even know that he died. And I was scrolling through Twitter and people were like having random Hulk Hogan, things pop up, and I was like, what? And then I'm like, did he die? And then I Google it and like, oh yeah, he died. Apparently, when he found out about his daughter's boyfriend being of a different race, he said a lot of very colorful language. That's quoted somewhere. So yeah, he's also a company man. I mean, you watch the Vince McMahon documentary on Netflix. That portrays him very much as a WWF at the time. A WWF stooge. He kind of was a bit of a turncoat when they were trying to unionize, which, whatever you think about that, maybe that's more complicated, but, he was a complicated guy. But nevertheless, an icon.
I just think it was motivated by money.
For sure.
Yeah, so not so complicated. But the one credit I'll give to is very much the predecessor to wrestlers trying to become Hollywood actors.
Yeah.
Not saying wrestlers aren't actors, but I'm saying trying to break into the Hollywood scheme, like from
transition. Yeah.
One of the big first entries was Rocky 3, that little bit in the beginning. So and then you had early 90s things like Suburban Commando, where, if I remember correctly, that was like plays an alien or something like that crashed to Earth and has to live amongst, like, it's it's one of those early 90s. You have your serious problem, and then you have your kid sidekick. So because it's literally a child's movie, so you have to have a kid that all the other kids can relate to. There was what, Mr. Nanny or something like that, or not?
What? I forgot about Mr. Nanny.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's called Mr. Nanny, where he's like the caretaker or something.
Oh wow,
Um,
yeah. Oh my gosh.
there,
Do you want to
the,
know what the Rotten Tomatoes score is?
what?
6%.
Okay.
Sorry, go
And then
ahead.
one of my favorites is it wasn't Thunder in Paradise.
Tropic
Thunder in
Thunder in
Paradise.
Paradise. Go ahead. Yeah.
No, it's Thunder in Paradise where he
Yes.
essentially him and
Yes.
his friends are like a bunch of cops on a boat, and they had a TV series, and they made like 2 or 3 movies for this
Yes.
show.
Oh.
And it was just like, wow, I can't believe that like that stuff exists. And we joked about I think we mentioned it before, but the Three Ninjas TV
Yes.
or the movies by like movie number 4 there was one called like High Noon on like Mega Mountain,
Yes.
and that one like he's like the mascot of the theme park. I'm pretty sure. I don't think I ever actually fully saw it, but I just remember being like, wow, you still exist, because I was like, I remember being so late in life. I'm like, well, you're still doing stuff like this. That's kind of crazy. But that was all before, like essentially paved the way for people like John Cena and The Rock and everything like that in order to be moving into Hollywood, right? So I'll
Yes.
give credit there, and also like I said, in the '80s, the biggest wrestler star, like everyone knew. There was a handful of names that if you just said it out loud on any given like street corner, people would immediately know who you're talking about. When it came to wrestling, wrestling used to be the biggest thing. Uh, yeah, and I don't know. It's no someone that big and that influential. Despite what happened later in the years, or for whatever it's worth, it's like losing a big name, and
Yeah.
like so. While one might have gotten, like I said, it's somehow got that second wave of popularity as well. Um, I was done with Hulk Hogan by then, but I was most definitely impressed with Ozzy Osbourne still doing concerts, and like once again, out of the life that both of them have led, like it's amazing that they lived as long as they have. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
all
Definitely icons, and sad to see him go.
right. Well, if you made it to the end, we thank you. This has been another Dead Pixel, episode 136. Nick, what are some words of wisdom you have for the people out there?
Never check Rotten Tomatoes before you watch a movie.
Yeah, that's actually pretty good. Go into any piece of media as blind as possible. Don't watch the trailers. Yeah,
Accept
for sure don't watch.
our recommendations. Take our recommendations as gospel.
Yeah, well, chances are, in order to hear full recommendations, you'll probably hear the spoilers first, so you're doomed anyways. So you're just as good as watching the 4 minute whatever trailer to whatever movie. Yeah.
Just
All right.
just flick the headphones out. Just flick those AirPods or whatever you use just right out of your ears if you hear us say the word spoiler.
All right, guys. Well, once again, this is ADP. Until next time, take it easy.
Bye.